My love for gaming started with a handheld console, more specifically the Game Boy. Playing games like Super Mario over and over again really made me fall in love with the idea of gaming. Fast forward to today, and I'm more of a PC gamer, as you might know, building a bunch of gaming PCs and primarily playing on PC, but that doesn't mean I don't have a love for handheld gaming consoles. I specifically daily drive an ROG Ally X, and I've used products like the Steam Deck, but as a PC gamer primarily, what are my thoughts and also Jackson's thoughts on the Nintendo Switch 2, a handheld console that has a lot to offer, but as a PC gamer, does it make sense? In today's video, Jackson and I will be giving you our 1 month review of the Nintendo Switch 2 and give you all PC gamers the definitive answer. Should you buy one? We'll talk more about it after word from today's sponsor.
Okinos and their Mirage 4 case. We're no strangers to Okinos cases here on the channel, and with every single case we've built in, they offer some insane value for the price point. We love their PC cases so much that they actually occupy the majority of our staple PCs at our PC selling business. Their newest case, the Mirage 4, is one we actually recently built in, and with its 240mm radiator support, 3 ARGB fans pre-installed with the bottom 2 being reverse blade, this compact dual-chamber PC case makes building a breeze. The Mirage 4 comes with 2 tempered glass side panels, which displays your parts super nicely, and with its dual-chamber design, it makes cable management super easy as well. Okinos will now be selling the PC cases at Micro Center as well, so whether you're putting together a PC build online or in person, Okinos has PC cases available for you today. You can learn more about the Mirage 4 and other offerings from Okinos using the link in the description down below. Thanks to Okinos for sponsoring today's video. Now back to you, Matt and Jackson.
If I'm being 100% sincere, after battling bots who were trying to get Switch 2 pre-orders, I managed to get my Switch 2 for one purpose only, a review video. Here at the Toasty Bros, I want to expand further past just PC gaming because I think a lot of you PC gamers are very interested in the latest consoles as well. Some of you are pretty diehard PC gamers, and for those people, shout out to you. But there's a lot of people who like to have both, and you've had the ability to get both. Should you actually buy both? That's what today's video is all about. I'm no stranger to Nintendo consoles. I've owned a Nintendo Switch, I've owned Game Boys, and many other Nintendo devices. Now, the original Switch is a device I used pretty seldomly. I didn't use it very much. I managed to play a couple Pokemon games, as you can tell, I'm a big Pokemon fan. I played Shining, Pearl, and Pokemon Sword and Shield, and I had a good time playing those games. But after Pokemon Violet released on the Switch 1 and I was getting ready to play it and noticed how piss poor the performance was on that thing, my Switch started to collect dust. Enough about my background, let's dive into my first impressions when unboxing the Switch 2. We did a full unboxing YouTube short. If you haven't seen that video, go to our shorts feed to take a look at it. And the first time the Switch 2 was in my hands, I definitely could tell that Nintendo made a lot of improvements to the build quality of this console. It just feels miles ahead better versus the original Switch. Now, I didn't own a Switch OLED, so if there is a difference there, I wouldn't necessarily know it. But from the original Switch to the Switch 2, which is what a lot of people are doing if they're not buying two of the same generation console just for an OLED screen, you're probably going to feel a massive difference going to the Nintendo Switch 2. The kickstand on this device is absolutely great. The Joy-Con's magnetic system, I really love. Now, long term, how is that going to hold up? It's up for debate. This is just a 1 month review. We'll be curious to see after a year from now if there's any issues with the magnets in the Joy-Cons.
So yeah, I'm pretty much exclusively a PC gamer, but I did like the idea of having a handheld, hence why I got the Nintendo Switch 2. So originally, Matt actually got the Switch 2 on pre-order like months ahead of time, which was super cool. I kind of thought about getting in on it because I liked the idea of the Switch because I loved my Nintendo DS. Like, that was probably my favorite console of all time, but I did not get in on the pre-order. I was kind of late to it, and once Matt got his, I was kind of like, man, I really like the look of it. I like that it's like USB-C everything, and I like the idea of being able to play some Zelda games again, which obviously that's not something I can really do easily on the PC. So yeah, that's I got lucky, and we had a viewer that was very nice enough to sell me his Switch that was unopened, and he's already bought another one, so that worked out pretty well. And my fiance and I have been looking for more games to play together, and we don't really find a lot of PC games that we enjoy, but things like Mario Kart and stuff has been really fun to play.
Now, that $450 price tag definitely hit most of us pretty hard, but I will say, when you're holding the device, and me specifically when I'm holding the device, I feel like I definitely got my money's worth in terms of build. Now, the ergonomics of this device is something I do worry about, and my initial impressions definitely started to lean into my actual experience. I love the idea of how thin the Switch 2 is, but I really do worry. Compared to something like an ROG Ally that has really good grips, this device goes for a flat, sleek, minimalist approach, which for somebody who's handheld gaming primarily is going to start having some hand pain later down the line, but we'll talk more about that later. Now the screen looks great. It is big and improved, but it is not OLED. And of course, I mean, what did you expect from Nintendo? Of course, in a year from now, they're gonna release an OLED version for $550 or $600, depending on what the climate is when this console releases, and you all are gonna buy one anyways if you are a Nintendo fan. But I do think the display looks nice. I have seen some reviews where people have deep dived and noticed that there is some ghosting with the display, but in my gameplay, again, coming from a PC gamer who's using this as a primary single-player gaming experience, it's not something that makes the experience bad. It honestly feels like a night and day difference versus the original Switch.
I do wish that this was just automatically something like an OLED display, but I think the display looks really good. It's high refresh right now for the games that can actually utilize it. I think 60 Hz even looks pretty good on this so far. I've mainly been playing the Zelda game, which I don't even know if it goes past 60 FPS or not. Honestly, I haven't checked. That's kind of the fun part about these little handhelds is I just don't really care. I'm getting on to play a game in bed or something like that, or if I'm in on a car ride and I just want to play something, this is definitely a good way to do it.
Now it is 120 Hz, but I'll be honest, not a lot of the games I play or any games I've seen really support 120 FPS. When that starts rolling out with newer titles, I think that'd be a much bigger selling point, but just being able to play games at 60 FPS, I mean, crazy mind-blowing for Nintendo guys, makes a lot of games that were almost unplayable in the original Switch feel like an entirely new game.
I do like the improved kickstand design where it's kind of like this whole entire fold-out kickstand. I think that's a good amount better. It doubles as a carrying device. I'm just kidding, I probably wouldn't do that. It feels pretty flimsy. I also like how the Joy-Cons unattach. I think it's pretty nice. I really was not a fan of the slide-in ones. We used to see them come in all the time broken where the actual sliders weren't working properly and they weren't making good contact. So I think this magnetic device will hold up for a pretty long time. I do wish the Joy-Cons were Hall effect. I don't know how Nintendo still wasn't able to do that, especially for how much the console is, but I definitely think that overall, minus the Hall effect part, it was mainly just improvements made. Battery life seems like it could be better, but playing at a lower brightness when I've played in bed, I've managed to get an hour and that it was still at 60%, 70% even after an hour of straight playing Zelda.
Now let's talk about actually gaming on this thing. The game I primarily played on this device was Pokemon Violet because I bought it with the original Switch. I tried multiple times to get into it, but the lagging and the constant random issues that happen when playing that game on the original Switch, I just decided to give it up and switch over to the Switch 2 to fully play this game. And as a PC gamer who's definitely spoiled by having high refresh rate gaming experiences, only playing at 30 FPS, sometimes below that, was just not gonna cut it for me. But now on the Switch 2, for the most part when you play this game, you get a good lock 60 FPS. For the most part. There are some dips here and there, but it makes the gaming experience so much smoother in this open world Pokemon game that really does need a higher frame rate so you can really enjoy everything that's happening. I primarily use this device in handheld, probably about 90% of the time. I did try docked mode and it was very seamless, plugged up to a 4K TV. It looked great and I used the included controller holder for the Joy-Cons so I could actually sit back and enjoy using the console on a TV experience, and it was fine, but I quickly realized why I own the Switch, and it's to be a handheld device to get away from my TV. I'm not somebody who's gonna buy a ton of party games. Eventually I probably will, because if you have a Switch, it's one of those things where you have friends over, they're most likely gonna want you to play some games on your new Switch too. You'll buy Mario Kart, you'll buy the new games, and then you'll get a bunch of Joy-Cons, and from there you spend a bunch of money, but I digress. And at that point, it becomes more of a TV device than a handheld device. But for me, going back to the whole Game Boy side of things, the idea that it's primarily a handheld is the most important factor to me.
And another cool thing too is once you actually dock the Switch at home, it is 1440p supported now, so 1440p high refresh rate. It looks pretty good. Playing Mario on my 4K 65-inch TV at home, it looks pretty darn nice. I don't really play a lot of single-player games, so I wouldn't buy something like a Switch for me personally, because I mainly am getting on Discord to play esports titles with my friends. So that's kind of what I like about the Switch, is that it has a lot of single-player games that kind of force me to actually enjoy myself and not have to get on those sweaty, grindy, competitive games all the time. Kind of just good for being able to spend time not on my setup all the time. So instead, I can actually be hanging out with people and whatnot, just playing with my Switch. Kind of instead of playing on your phone, doom scrolling social media, you can be playing a game instead. And I kind of appreciate that about the Switch.
Now that we talked about the good about this console, the fact that it runs really well and I enjoyed playing a backlog of games I never enjoyed on the first Switch, let's talk about the bad, and that is the battery life. Now I just got back from a trip to California for a Micro Center video that we're filming, and I brought this Switch 2 to do some gaming. I'll show you guys some footage here from a very dark airplane, very shaky as well, and the battery life was not amazing. I actually managed to kill this Switch 2 all the way down to about 5% on the flight. And the reason I did that was I was playing Pokemon Violet for about 3 hours. And once I hit that 2.5 hour mark, the battery life was pretty much done for. So realistically, 2.5 hours to 3 hours is what you're looking at, especially on games that utilize the full hardware that the Switch 2 has to offer, and Pokemon Violet being one of those. And that battery life isn't amazing, but compared to the rest of the market right now, handhelds in general don't have amazing battery life to begin with, even the PC space. So I'm really not too disappointed in that. It's just something to mention that if you are going to use this device and it does charge up really quickly, you're going to want to be next to a charger or buy a portable battery bank, which is what I did in my situation, to get more life out of this console as a handheld.
The battery life I've heard from many people is pretty bad. I have yet to drain the battery on the Switch. I basically, I'll just play it in bed and then I put it back on the dock the next morning. I haven't drained the battery, so I can't really say the battery life feels bad to me yet, but from the test I've seen, it doesn't seem great. I mean, I've seen some people only getting like 2 hours out of it. I don't know if that's max brightness. I don't know which games they're playing, because depending on how demanding the game is, you may drain your battery quicker than others.
Now, sadly, before my trip, I was really hoping my D-Brand Kill Switch 2 case was going to show up, because I did pre-order one of those from D-Brand. If you want to buy one of those, link down below. And I really hope I can show you guys some B-roll of it, because I think it's showing up today at the time of recording this video, but maybe not. Either way, I think that would have made a big difference with the ergonomics of this device. During that flight, when I was playing for 2.5 to 3 hours straight, I really was noticing my hands were starting to feel a little bit sore playing the console. Now, it wasn't horrible. It wasn't like playing on a very old school console where your hands are literally cramping and you just have to put it down. It was just a little bit uncomfortable. Now, I don't see myself ever sitting down besides on a flight and playing for more than 2 to 3 hours at a time. I don't even game for more than an hour at a time most time anymore, just based on my schedule. And the fact that this console doesn't weigh nearly as much as some of the other handhelds on the market, I think it kind of compensates for that. Once I get that kill switch on there and have really nice, comfortable handles to use while gaming, I think this thing is going to be perfect for longer gaming sessions.
I will say, even after playing, like I said, for like, an hour, hour and a half each time of these Zelda sessions, I don't feel like it's maybe as bad as some people made out to be. Maybe if you have larger hands, this would be more annoying, like to reach your thumb and whatnot, but for me, it hasn't really been an issue.
Now, the Joy-Cons themselves feel much better than the previous gen, but I still worry about stick drift. I mean, again, with my Switch 1, I never used it enough for that to be a problem, but it's one of those things where if I'm going to use this more because I'm liking what it feels like, there's a real chance I'm going to deal with stick drift in the future, and that might totally turn me away from this console, especially with the price of new Joy-Cons.
It's a good thing and a bad thing. I think the Joy-Cons being removable and being so versatile in how you can play with them is super cool, but once again, them being totally flat, not the most ergonomic, but like I said, for me, that hasn't bothered me really at all. From someone who used to play on the Nintendo DS, it's not like ergonomics were the top priority.
The storage on this device is also acceptable in my opinion. I did not add a micro SD card to this console. I did leave it stock with its internal storage. As a PC gamer that primarily games on PC, just loading up the 3 to 4 games that I want to play on this at a time on the internal storage works perfectly fine.
And then obviously the docking part is really cool. The fact that I don't have to go through and like set up HDMI every single time and figure out like resolutions and stuff. I literally just plop it on, and if you have like a smart TV, it just automatically turns on with the TV. And the fact that like you can just kind of leave games open, even where you can just click them and then you're in something like Mario Kart, I think it's pretty convenient, pretty nice. It definitely makes those those games with your significant other, or even like party games with like 4 Joy-Cons or 2 Joy-Cons and a Pro controller, it makes it a lot easier to do. Which, funny enough, another docked game I've been playing is BioShock 2. I bought the BioShock collection for like $10 because, let's be honest, Nintendo games are all pretty expensive. So I've only bought like one Nintendo game, which is Zelda, and then I bought BioShock 2. Well, I bought the whole pack, and I've been playing 2. And so I actually opted for going to get the Pro controller from Walmart. There's not many places that had them at the time, and I think I paid like $80 for it. And I don't even know for Matt, do you know if this is Hall Effect? Yeah, from what Matt just looked up, it's not even Hall Effect, which is pretty crazy for that price tag, but it's a well-built controller. Actually, when I got it in my car earlier, I don't know if you guys can see here, but I completely dropped it, like straight into the concrete. I was holding too many things at once, and it was one of those like where I tried to catch it and I just flung it across the parking lot. It held up really well, surprising. Like you can barely even see the scratches, but I got it because BioShock was horrible to play. It ran well, like it actually, I'm surprised it looks good on the Switch, but it was so freaking hard to play because of like the aim assist or something. I bought this thinking it would make it a lot better than trying to play the Joy-Cons, and it helped a little bit, but honestly not much. First-person shooters may not be the vibe for the Switch.
I think Jackson and I are probably on the same page here, where Nintendo game prices are expensive, and I really do think this is the direction we're going, but it's really not that crazy compared to the rest of the space and where the rest of the space is going. Games in general have always been a certain level of expensive, and sometimes some games would be $70, $80, $90 even 10, 15 years ago. Look it up, there's games out there that are really expensive, but the thing is that these games on Nintendo are always going to come with a premium. The console itself is, well, again, with the world market right now, tariffs are kind of on a pause, but the console is priced very aggressively given the tariffs that they could inevitably have to deal with in the future. And of course, the games are where they're going to have to make money. That has always been the space when it comes to consoles.
Just depending on the time and who makes it and how much work goes into it and how greedy the corporations are feeling, games have always been in like the $50 to $100 price range. I just think the idea of Nintendo basically announcing like, hey, we're gonna help you guys save money on the Switch by charging more for the games, I think rubbed people the wrong way. But that's where, like I said, not being a main Switch gamer, it saves you a lot of money. I think if I mained the Switch and I was buying like a lot of games, yeah, I would be over $1,000 into this thing already.
Do I love the pricing? No. But is it something that we're all gonna have to get used to in the future? I sadly believe so. Now, to answer the question I know a lot of you are probably saying as PC gamers is, why not just buy a Steam Deck? They're cheaper, it plays PC games, you don't have to deal with Nintendo scumminess. Why don't you just buy a Steam Deck? Why are you recommending a Switch 2? Well, if you are a PC gamer that only wants to play PC games, your entire game library is on Steam, and all you want to do is play the latest Steam titles, don't buy a Switch 2.
Whether you love it or not, it's Nintendo. You really can't legally play those Nintendo games on those other consoles. So in my case, I wanted something that just ran really smooth. I didn't really ever have to like tinker with. I didn't want to have to like jailbreak, not jailbreak, but load up like a Linux distro and do all these crazy mods and stuff just to play certain games. Now, if I was like a die-hard handheld enthusiast, I could see the argument for like just get a Steam Deck or something, but they're kind of different animals. And not to mention the idea that, like I said, parties and stuff like that, this really is a party trick, being able to, if you're just really bored with friends, you don't know what else to do, having a Nintendo Switch that you can dock on the TV just on the fly super quick is really nice to have.
If you have the means to do so, you can have both a PC and a Switch too, right? I know a lot of people are in that space. We're budget gamers, we totally understand. If you were to choose between the two, I would go with the Steam Deck if you primarily play PC. But if you're somebody who loves Nintendo and wants a second device just to have fun with, it's not illegal to have both a PC and a Switch 2.
If you have one and you're using it a ton, maybe the battery life's starting to kind of get bad on it, screen's scratched up, your Joy-Cons are starting to get drift, and let's be honest, Joy-Cons being like $80 even for the one are pretty expensive, it might be worth checking out the Switch 2. But I think for someone like me, which is kind of a rare use case, someone who just hasn't had a handheld in so long, this is pretty cool. And I don't want to play on the PlayStation, I don't want to play on the Xbox, I don't have desire to play controller, I'm a keyboard and mouse enthusiast all the way. For playing those just little cute party games or like those single player Nintendo exclusives, I definitely think the Switch is worth picking up.
For an average user who owns a Nintendo Switch and is playing all the games they want to play and has no problems with the lower frame rates and everything just runs just fine, and you play a lot of older party games, Switch 2 is not for you. I wouldn't buy the Switch 2 just yet. There's not really a groundbreaking game that is on the market right now that I would really recommend someone run out to grab a Switch 2 to get. And definitely don't pay any scalp prices for this console. But if you're somebody at home who happens to go to their local Walmart, you see one in the cabinet and you're like, hey, I want to treat myself today and get a console that I can play some Nintendo games on. Maybe you're a Pokemon fan who wants to revisit some of the newer games or never played any of the newer games or haven't even owned a Switch in general, then I would recommend the Switch 2 for those who want to try it, or just hold off a bit and wait for an OLED version, but just know you better save up your money for that because that's going to be a pricey console when that does come out.
Well, we hope you enjoyed our thoughts on the Nintendo Switch 2, but we would like to know what you guys think down below, so let us know in those comments if you love or hate the Switch 2.
If you want to buy one yourself, maybe we decided for you and you guys want to buy a Switch 2, links in the description down below will be affiliate links and will help us out. Let us know if you enjoyed these longer form style reviews where Jackson and I try products for a long period of time, especially new console releases, so you guys can get a budget PC gamer's perspective on the latest in gaming.
But as always, we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you check out our other two YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/ToastyBros, and do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Well guys, our Nintendo Switches will not be for sale, but at PCBros.tech we do have tons of gaming PCs to choose from, and every so often we actually do sell a handheld there.
PCBros.tech, PC gaming might only be for you. Maybe you don't want these. You're just yelling at us in the comments right now saying, why are you buying from Nintendo? I don't want a dirty console. Well, buy a PC from PC Bros then. PCBros.tech. Use code ToastyBros on checkout. You'll save 3% on your next purchase. See you guys later.